Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel that is not going to have movie content because I am making two channels. Um, Hopefully, by the time this video comes out, I have explained this. And if not, just enjoy this video of me and my friend complaining about this awful movie. My name is Steven, Movie Buff 3000, currently Movie Buff 3000, and secret name that you probably already know. The whole introduction is a fucking mess. Anyways, here's my friend Todd.
Hello, we're here to talk about movies.
This is Untitled Podcast. I've been jokingly saying we should call it Cinema de Bergerac because it's a reference to Red Letter Media, and I thought it was funny, but I don't think that's
Oui,
going to stick
oui.
at all. Anyways, me and Todd, we both watched Madam Web, him more recently, and we both had to watch it twice so we could take notes. I will kind of explain my history of Madam Web really quick, and then Todd could explain his. So my experience with the character is, as a kid, I used to watch the Spider-Man cartoon out of order. So every now and then they'll play an episode that's further in the show than I previously watched. This will be this old lady named Madam Web who gives Peter advice, and then Peter gets mad and yells at her, and then he uses her advice, and then he comes back later and he's like, "Oh, you're right." And I would just be like, "Who is this old lady? Where's the Punisher?" So that's pretty much my experience with the character Madam Web. I later learned more about her importance as an adult because I wanted to be like, "Who's Madam Web?" So I looked her up, and I'm like, "Okay, she's like an Oracle lady." And that's really all I knew about the character. So when this movie was announced, I was like, "Why are they making this movie?" Oh yeah, Sony wants to make Spider-Man movies, so Marvel doesn't get all the money. Now, Todd, what's your experience with the Madam Web character?
All right, so Madam Web. So I'm a huge Spider-Man nerd because of my advanced age, which appears to be. I'm pretty much the same age as Madam Web in the movies, based on the years that they're supposed to take place. Said she's born in 1973. I was born a couple years before that. So I grew up with Spider-Man on the Electric Company, showing kids how to use punctuation in word bubbles and thought balloons, and so been a diehard Spider-Man fan ever since. With Saturday morning cartoons in the 70s and 80s, I watched those 1966 cartoons that were fantastic, and the so Madam Web would pop up in those comics. In fact, until a few weeks ago, I had a vast comic book collection, like 6,000 comics, and they were recently all stolen. And I'm actually still in the process of dealing with that and grieving. And so I had a lot of Madam Web comics, and it's sorry, I'm sorry, I've become very emotional here.
It's
Um,
okay.
but
I would feel the exact same way as you.
Yeah, so in fact, I was the last time I was at a comic book shop. I was telling the sad story, and this guy next to me just suddenly turns to me with a big smile on his face, and he says, "Hey, you're just like Nicolas Cage."
Oh
like
yeah.
like like really excited. Oh, like, so look on the bright side. You're just like Nicolas Cage. You just got robbed of a huge amount of stuff. So Madam Web would have foreseen that, of course, and might have been able to help me save it. But uh, so I was really interested in Spider-Man, but in a lot of ways, part of that collection, I stopped really collecting Spider-Man several years ago. He's like kind of like an old girlfriend. I grew up really loving it, but Spider-Man comics have kind of exploded. There's so many different characters now that are all Spider-Man instead of just like one Peter Parker, and so it's kind of a mess. And so I kind of backed off and just started collecting other things, but I really liked his old stuff. It was fantastic. And Madam Web was an interesting character who could sometimes, seem kind of scary and possibly villainous. She had her own agenda or whatnot, but she was usually helpful. And that was kind of interesting. And so I hadn't watched any of the Sony movies that weren't done with Marvel Studios. I've been a diehard Marvel Studios fan, watched all of those movies and series, but I wasn't watching the two Venom movies or Morbius, and I know Craven is coming up. I'm kind of curious about those, but I hadn't heard anything really good about them. And so my first jump was to see Madam Web on Netflix, like a week or so ago, and wow, I there's a lot to talk about, right?
Yeah. I remember when I saw it in theaters and I was just like, I just couldn't get the movie out of my head. So like when you were like, "Oh, I watched this and it was bad," it's like I rarely ever hear you say a movie's bad. So it's like I got intrigued because it's like I feel like I was kind of talking about this movie in a void because most people I know
Mm,
didn't see it, and then
yeah,
most people who didn't see it like kind of like laughed at it for a bit. And
right. And you and I, we both admitted just before recording this that we've not seen a Dakota Johnson movie before, other
no, yeah,
than The Social Network, which I don't know where she is in The Social Network, but apparently on Letterboxd that's her most popular movie. I don't remember her in that, but
the
yeah,
most
I
I've
haven't
seen of
seen.
her is in the finale of The Office. There's a time skip of about a year, and she's a new employee, and she's like the secretary, I think. She has like one. I remember her having like one scene where she like asks Dwight a question, and like that's it. That's
So
most of
yeah,
my knowledge of
cameo
her.
basically because she's Hollywood royalty, obviously, and she's had some big moments. I watched her host Saturday Night Live as publicity for Madam Web, and she was great. She was fine on Saturday Night Live. So was Sydney Sweeney, who I also I saw Anyone But You recently, and that was really good. But yeah, Madam Web uh, just didn't do them any favors at any point. Oh my goodness.
Sydney Sweeney was very lucky that she had like several movies ready to go by the time this came out. It's like in between this, she had like Anyone But You, which I haven't seen. I heard is surprisingly good. There's so few romantic comedies in theaters nowadays, and it's amazing that like one could come out and do well. Um, but also she was in Immaculate, which if you know the history about it, it's very cool. She basically auditioned for it like a couple of years ago. The project fell apart. She remembered really liking it though, and now she has, like, influence and money. So she was able to get it made and like star in it, and like Immaculate was pretty good. And then she's also in
Euphoria.
Euphoria, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of good about Euphoria. They just said I would watch that every day over Madam Web. Oh, and of course, part of the problem with Sydney Sweeney in Madam Web is that she's a 27-year-old playing a teenager, a
Yeah.
teenage runaway
Yeah,
by a 27-year-old.
the most impressive thing about this movie is they were able to hide how big her chest is.
Yeah. Well, so it's hard to not. Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, yeah.
And that's probably why she
But
was uncharismatic about this, because she was uncomfortable the whole movie. Honestly, everyone is bad in this movie. I guess except Adam Scott,
yeah, yeah, I was
because
trying to come up with a list because to keep with. I was trying to see if how much we wanted to tie into the cinema de Bergerac theme.
oh my
In Roxanne, Steve Martin does a list of 20 something betters when he's having this fight in a bar, and so I was trying to think of the 20 things. Could I list 20 things about Madam Web that were good that I liked? And Adam Scott was really one of the few I could come up with. Just it's just yeah, I'm always glad to see Adam Scott in something, and he's playing an appropriate character, which is really, Stephen, one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about was who is Adam Scott playing is very important. And I know you looked at my Letterboxd reviews, so you know what I'm talking about. Like who Adam Scott is playing. Who is Ben? Ben, one of the most important names in the Spider-Man lore.
do they ever say? I think about it. Do they ever say his full name, or do they just call him
I
Ben the whole
watched
time?
it. I watched the beginning of the movie for a third time this morning. And yes, I finally found the one time they say the name Parker is in it's the first scene we see Sydney Sweeney. It's when Adam and Dakota are at the hospital and she's dealing with her first of many cans that she can't open. She's getting a Mountain Dew Dark, I believe, because the product placement in this movie is insane.
Oh
And
my
so
god, yes.
she's spitting that out.
Product placement's
And
very important in this movie.
yes, and so Sydney Sweeney is there because they just saved her stepmom, and so a little boy, her stepbrother, walks up to Dakota and says, "Here, I drew this. I'd like you to have it for saving my mother." And of course, Dakota. And what I like about the movie is that she playing Cassandra Webb as an awkward person who doesn't make friendships very easily, and she turns to Adam Scott and says, "Oh, well, Mr. Ben Parker here is who you want to thank for saving your mom." And that's the only time we hear the name Parker. And I wish we heard it more because I missed it even when I went back a second time to look for it because I couldn't believe and this will really make it hard to keep my nerd card, but how did I miss that Adam Scott is playing Ben as in Uncle Ben Parker, but Peter Parker's Uncle Ben? How did I miss that? That was the whole tie-in, but I felt like that the movie was just so distracting in what it wasn't doing well that we didn't miss the obvious, or we missed the obvious thing that I don't know. Did you pick? How soon did you pick up on it, Stephen?
So I picked up on it immediately because there was rumors of
Oh, okay.
like there's like a little meme of like because there's like a shot of him like opening a fortune cookie that was like released beforehand. And so
Mhm.
people were like, "Oh, imagine if he's Uncle Ben and the fortune cookie says with great power comes great responsibility," which this movie
Right?
says, but they reverse it because for
Yeah.
some reason people are afraid of fucking saying this line.
Yeah. I'm really strange. Everyone talks about maybe they couldn't legally say things like Peter Parker ever,
Yeah. It's like,
but
"Oh no,
but
they have to pay Steve Ditko if they say the line."
right. But the problem is that it's Sony. They own it. They that's the whole reason why they're doing these movies is they own the Spider-Man license. That's why they have to share with Marvel Studios and vice versa. Is that they own this, so they're doing Spider-Man adjacent, and I guess, and they even, I mean, it's in association with Marvel, but not Marvel Studios. They're just in
Yeah.
association with the
I don't
Marvel
think Kevin
comic.
Feige wants these movies being made. He just
Yeah, yeah,
he just knows he can't stop them.
yeah. But yeah, so she says Ben Parker one
Yeah.
time, and then in the ending credits, they have Ben Parker and Mary Parker, played by Emma Roberts, in the credits, and that's it. And they had an opportunity to say things like, there's a scene after that in the hospital where they're having lunch, and poor Cassie Webb still can't open a can, and he says, "Hey, I've met somebody," and she goes, "Oh, what's her name?" And instead of saying May, which would have really hammered home who he was, he doesn't say
He doesn't
anything, and she
answer.
goes, "Right," and she goes, "Oh, it's serious," and it's kind of a moment, but it's like, but we need to know. And then they play the baby naming game. They
Yeah.
She could have used her powers to see the future to guess that the name was Peter, but they didn't. They just made it awkward. And then at the very end, Peter's born. But they never say his name. They show his birth, and there's no dialogue, or at least I think you hear him say he's perfect, but it's really muted and everything. And but we
Yeah.
don't get. They just won't do it, and I'm kind of shocked at that. That it's
Also, like
they built the story around it, and it ends up being an Easter egg.
they never mention Richard once, which if you don't know, Richard Parker is Peter
Oh,
Parker's
no,
dad.
no, they do. They do.
Oh, they
Richard gets
do?
brought up. Yeah, when Emma Roberts first is introduced to Dakota, when she goes in for the baby shower at the barbecue, where the guy is ruining the hamburgers, and so they go in and they, which I kind of like. I kind of like she doesn't have to be able to see the future to know this guy's grilling the hamburgers wrong, and that's fine. I credit her with that. But in fact, she could have said it that way. I don't have to be able to see the future that those burgers are going to be lousy. But so then she goes in, and Emma Roberts says, "Hey, I'm Mary Parker. I'm Ben's sister-in-law. My husband Richard is in. I think she says he's in Mumbai or
Oh, okay.
Singapore. Or she names a couple of things. He's always jet setting around. Who knows what he's doing? So they don't even say he's a scientist. They just see he's traveling all the time. And then it's brought up again at the baby shower naming game where someone says, "Oh, are you going to name the baby Richard after your husband?" And Emma Roberts says, "Oh, he Richard wishes," and then and then Cassie guesses Ben, and then they just totally drop the ball. And it's like, oh, and that happens again and again where the movie could start to get better because that baby naming scene is actually, I think there's a glimmer of something good there. Her awkwardness, her I mean, there have probably been a lot of people in that situation where they go to a game that's all centered around how wonderful your mom was, or what what relationship you had with your mom and everything. And people often grow up without a mom, or there's something terrible happened, and so she's put in that role, and that would make us feel for her, and it does. I think that's one of the first good things about the movie. I think is that awkwardness where she has to play this game and say, well, my mother died in childbirth, and she says it to a pregnant woman. So that's something, and then it just kind of falls apart. But and that again and again, you start to get something where something could happen, and we can start feeling for these characters, and then, uh,
Yeah, that's like the big issue with this movie is that like it doesn't commit to anything. And so like there's like a lot of like just like loose stuff that like never really comes back. They never even though it's clearly Peter Parker, they never reference, like you said, they never reference he's the baby. I think once at the end of the movie they're like, "Oh no, don't worry, he's going to like be a big deal later on." But like why is he going to be a big deal later on? Because the thing with Spider-Man is he's always like the first like spider hero, and then it gets to the point
mhm.
where there's just like a million spider people all because of him. But now he's coming after three different spider women.
Right, who are going to be like 16 years older than him at least, right?
Yeah,
So that's
and
weird.
like they're already gonna, because one of them is super smart, they're already gonna have like one of them has like the iron spider legs. So it's like, oh, he's
Yeah,
just gonna be a guy in
yeah,
a suit.
right. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like if you were to watch like a DC Universe thing and like they have like, oh yeah, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, they're already heroes. And now there's this Bruce Wayne guy, he's gonna become Batman. It's like, oh, that's not really impressive anymore. No, I'm gonna get on a DC thing. We need to stick with Marvel. Even though this
Yeah.
isn't really Marvel, this is just Sony using the scraps of Spider-Man to make money. To keep the rights. I know we were kind of rambling. To explain the plot, for people that don't know, basically, or I'm going to give a very abridged version of this plot. Basically, there is this woman in the Amazon who is researching spiders, and then she's killed. I'm referencing the meme line that's in the trailer. That's not in the movie. Very poorly, but yeah, that's basically what happens. There's this. Let me look up where he's from because his accent is impossible to put down.
Well, it's because he talks one way when he's on camera, and then when they replace most of his lines in ADR, it sounds completely different
Okay,
and doesn't match at all. Oh,
so there's this quotation marks. The actor's French, and
ah,
I made sure to listen to interviews. So that is his voice. They didn't get
good.
another person to dub. They just had him dub over himself. And we'll get to the dubbing. Anyways, there's this French guy named Ezekiel Sims. He kills her to get the spider because his motivation is that he was poor and he didn't like it. So now he wants spider powers so he can become rich. How he becomes rich, we don't know. We don't know anything about him actually, other than that he
Mm,
has spider powers. Um,
right.
he kills her, and then she has a baby. She has a baby that's bitten by a spider, so it survives. Who is eventually going to become the titular Madam Web. She starts getting visions of these three girls dying. These three girls that she happens to all bump into in the span of a day, just kind of accidentally. And the movie basically just becomes Terminator. Ezekiel Sims has a vision of these three women becoming Spider Women, and they kill him. And so he wants to kill them first, and Madam Web has to protect them. And yeah, it's basically this movie is basically Terminator, which
It's a good point. It is very much the plot of Terminator, just kind of turned around. Instead of a woman's son coming back in time to save his mom, it's but yeah, I noticed in I did some I was not familiar with Ezekiel Sims, who was a little more recent comic book character than when I was a big collector. Uh, but he is kind of like, he's not a bad guy. He's a good guy that does bad things to get
Yes.
a good result. And so they tweaked him quite a bit.
Yeah.
And
Reading about him, I kind of got the vibe that like he's one of those like you said, he's not a bad guy. He seems to be like one of those characters that will like do something abhorrent because he believes that it's going to help, and then at the end of the book, he's just like, "Oh man, I really fucked up. I'm sorry."
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. Whereas this guy, he keeps. I think it was Honest Trailers that said he keeps trying to bait people into asking him about his origin story, and he doesn't find any takers because we don't know what he's done. We don't know for sure. I mean, we can guess he just wanted to be rich and powerful, and he
yeah,
used the spider somehow to get that. But part of, I guess, the powers he's gained from the spider is that he wears a business suit without shoes, and that he can apparently transform into an evil looking Spider-Man, so it's like almost a magical costume, but we never see him transform. It's just sometimes he's in a business suit with bare feet, and then
yeah.
other times he's dark. I call him Hollywood Boulevard Miles Morales,
Oh
on a
yeah,
budget, So
yeah. It's like, what's sad. This is probably the closest we're getting to a live action Miles Morales. I'm sure we'll get a
that
Miles
would be
Morales movie in like
terribly
20
sad.
years.
Hopefully someday. But I mean, the Spider-Verse movies are some of the most excellent Spider-Man movies ever made. So
Yeah.
at least they can completely avoid. I wonder if the next one's going to touch on Madam Web at all. I mean, why would they?
Yeah.
But
When Tom Holland gets past the Ralph Macchio curse of looking like he's 15 for 30 years, they'll be like, "Oh man, we don't have our young Spider-Man anymore. We can't make movies about old Spider-Man. Let's bring in
yeah,
Miles Morales now." Yeah, I actually made a note about this. So the reason why he wears a suit and no shoes is because that's what he's like in the comics. Because I
yeah,
guess
yeah, yeah,
I so fun Spider-Man facts for you guys. th- Peter Parker basically has to wear slippers. With his Spider-Man booties on his costume are essentially slippers. So he can stick to walls because he needs like somewhat of a layer, which I think they ignore a lot of the times. Because I know in Spider-Man movies he can like wall crawl with like his shoes on. The only reason I know this is because there's a famous comic where Peter Parker gets his costume stolen, so he wears a Fantastic Four costume, but the boots are too thick. So and also he puts a bag over his head.
yeah.
So there's a
Bagman.
Spider-Man costume called Amazing Bagman where he wears a bag over his head, a Fantastic Four jumpsuit, and no shoes. Um, but because Ezekiel's wearing no shoes and a Spider-Man costume has shoes, there's one or two things happen. Like Todd says, he can transform into a Spider-Man, like a Power Ranger, or he has like little Spider-Man booties in his pockets that he has to put on uh, when he takes off his suit to wear a Spider-Man suit. Like those are the only two ways that could work. My theory on what happened is he was just gonna look like how he looks in the comics. It was just a dude in a suit with no shoes going after these people. But at some point, the studio was like, we need someone to actually wear like a Spider-Man costume for the movie so we can show a Spider-Man in the trailer. Not that that stopped them. No, we'll talk about that later, but there's a couple super suits of this movie that are in the movie way less than the trailer implies.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so I think they just reshot scenes with him in the Spider-Man suit because I know this
Yeah.
movie had really bad reshoot. This movie had a lot of reshoots, which reshoots aren't inherently bad. Most movies do reshoots, but it's just you can tell when like they completely redo a movie because nothing adds up. But yeah, in addition to like you not knowing any of his motivation other than he used to be poor, but now he's rich and he wants to not die, and his weird suit. Um, he's very clearly dubbed over for most of the
Yeah.
movie. Um, anytime okay, so I was gonna say anytime you see his face, he's not dubbed over, but there is a scene where he's clearly not speaking,
Right.
and you hear him talking. There's a scene in the bed when he's talking to the woman from Crossing Jordan.
Yes. That's really when it started. It
Yes,
started because that was 20 minutes into the movie because I just was taking notes watching it this morning again. And uh the first scene when he's in the jungle with Cassandra's mom, that's not so bad. You don't notice it as much. If they are doing it, it's not painfully bad. But then at 20 minutes in, now he's older. Now we're in 2003, as the beginning of the movie was 1973. 2003, where he's at an opera with a national security agent, and he's going to seduce her, and that's when the bad dubbing really starts, and just oh god, it's terrible, and it's
yeah,
through like that for the rest of the movie, like you said.
and they cover his face in like shadow, which I probably who knows, it's probably CGI, and you can see his lips aren't moving. And he goes on this long monologue where he explains his very vague backstory. Uh, oh, I forgot. So you know how like Spider-Man, his abilities are strength, jumping,
Mhm.
durability, spider sense. So this is like never. They always seem to like want to add an extra power to Spider people. Like Miles
Mhm.
Morales has like the electroshock thing, but Miles Morales
Yeah,
is also bitten by a different spider. So apparently, the
yeah,
spider that bit Ezekiel, gave him the powers to put toxic venom in people by touch. Because that's how
right.
he killed this NSA woman. He just kind of grabs her arm and then he just like, you know, poisons her.
You right. So he can hold their hand and poison them. And she answers, she responds, "How are you poisoning me?" And I'm thinking, how does she know he's poisoning?
Which apparently, if you survive it, you get like a psychic connection with him. Because there's a point
Ah,
where like
yeah.
he touches Madam Web and like she's able to get
Hmm.
out of it, but it like helps her be able to have like a conversation with him. Where
Right.
this is the big evidence of them reshooting it with like, okay, we need scenes of him in like a suit, because he just
Mm.
goes back and forth between the normal black suit that he wears for one scene and his black Spider-Man suit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, did they just shoot the scene twice and they just edit it in to make it like it's so weird. There's so many weird choices in this movie.
All right. So my favorite one that's just like, oh my god, is the taxi cab. So so
Oh my
when
god.
Cassandra realizes she's got to protect these three quote unquote teenage girls from Ezekiel, who wants to kill them for some reason, before she realizes what, she abducts them from the subway and then steals a taxi cab, and then they go in, and so she
Which
at one
I want
point
to
has
add
to run into. Oh yeah,
I want to add on to this really quick.
yeah,
So at one point, Cindy Sweeney is just like, "Hey, this woman's abducting us." There's no indication that any of the cops hurt her, but like next
right,
scene, different cops are trying to arrest her for it. And
right.
even though all these cops get killed, it's already like it's
Right.
already on the
Well,
news. I think
now
she hears like
I
a
might,
police scanner.
yeah, I might be giving the movie too much credit, but what I assumed was happening was that Ezekiel, with his tech girl back at his place, that he was saying, "Hey, tell everybody that this woman is abducting them because we've got to, because she seems to be protecting them, so we need to track them down." And so I figured that he called the police, but of course that seems an odd thing to do if you're trying to kill three people, is to alert
Yes.
the police to that. That seems a bad idea, but it doesn't seem to work because she steals a cab. She even runs into it, Ezekiel, with it, but she takes the plates off of it and then proceeds to drive around for most of the rest of the movie in that cab. She keeps, no one is tracking that cab or anything. This obviously stolen cab that she leaves for a week to go to back to the Peru jungle to find out about her origin story. And we were like, watching this going, was she able to get on a plane even though she was wanted for kidnapping? Or she couldn't drive to Peru in this cab. Well, when she comes back, she's still in the cab.
Yeah,
So
and
however she got to Peru, she came back and got back into the cab and
she
drove
just left
to
it at the airport.
yeah, yeah, and it was fine because a plateless damaged cab that still has all of its markings that they would know where it was. So yeah,
Yeah,
crazy, crazy, crazy. But then the movie goes, "Oh, you think that's crazy? Here, hold my Pepsi." She's gonna steal an ambulance because she's a paramedic. She's gonna steal an ambulance and then drive it through a wall of a parking garage. So we get a Calvin Klein billboard there, more product placement. And then she's going to knock evil Spider-Man away from he's standing on the car with all of her friends and a pregnant woman in labor, and the evil Spider-Man has to jump up in order to get hit by the flying ambulance that's come through a brick wall of a second story parking garage in order to get hit. And then see, if this had been a Marvel Studios movie, what would have then happened when she lands and the ambulance is perfectly fine after doing that amazing impossible stunt, and she opens the car door and she said, "Come on, girls, everybody in the ambulance." And then she turns to Ben and she says, "Okay, Ben, take your sister as far away from us as possible. I'm going to lead him away in this ambulance," and then drives off. What Marvel Studios would have done was to put at least one, because there isn't one, a reaction shot of the pregnant woman in labor, Emma Roberts, going, "Wait." Because she was needing an ambulance, and then her friend comes up in the ambulance and leaves her there after this huge incident. It's kind of hilarious. I mean, in a bad way.
yeah. Also in that same scene, he just randomly has like a Green Goblin grenade.
Yeah, where did that come from?
It's like he's had
Oh,
grenades this whole time. Was it just that one? He just had one grenade. It's like I feel like if you're like committing to like murdering three people are gonna kill you in 10 years,
right,
he would, and he has no qualms about killing people. Why doesn't he have like more weapons?
right. He had that one grenade, and then he blew up a car. We don't know if there was anyone in that car. It was either parked or it was one of the ones that got blocked when he turned all the lights green on the intersection using his and you know, we never find out what happened to his tech support. They never get any focus. You know,
Yeah.
his IT lady back at his apartment, she still has access to the spiders, and uh, you know, because I'm trying to work out how we going to get sequels to this wonderful movie with all
Oh
the
yeah,
girls getting
definitely.
superpowers before Spider-Man. You mentioned there was all going to be a team up, right? Or there could be a team up movie with all these characters. Wouldn't that be
Well,
awesome? We could call it Secret Wars. Beat them to the punch.
yeah,
Take that,
it really
Marvel.
is funny that like in this universe make a big deal about Peter Parker, but it's like there's going to be three Spider Women before him. Why is this a big deal?
Right. He's not going to be special at all.
Yeah, especially too that like I you know what? Let's kind of pivot to talking about the three Spider Women. So
Yes.
you have the awesome Sydney Sweeney, who, as I was telling Todd before we started recording this, uh, she's very lucky to have this movie had come out now because she's already been in multiple projects before and after this, and she's still on Euphoria, so her career is fine.
Right.
She's not going to suffer, and Dakota Johnson's going to be fine because of who her parents are. So,
Right.
uh, and then Isabella Merchad, I probably mispronounced her name, which is terrible because we're both Hispanic. Um, she's going to be in the new Superman movie as Hawk Girl.
Yeah. She's going to be
So
fine. Hawk Girl.
yeah, and then the girl who played Maddie Franklin. She's in the Ghostbusters movies, and that's it. So it's
Oh, yeah.
like I don't know about her, but it's really funny to me that this movie is probably just going to be a blip on these guys' careers. It's not going to affect any of
Right.
them at all. The guy who's probably going to be affected most is probably the guy who played Ezekiel Sims. They're like, "Oh man, this
Yeah.
French guy
Yeah.
is awful," and they're like, "No," and he's like, "No, no, 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 no. It was just bad dubbing. I swear, I'm decent." We have these three stock characters. Sydney Sweeney plays Julia Cornwall, which is not this character's name. And she plays the nerd character. In the comics, this is actually Julia Carpenter, who is the second Spider Woman. And it's weird because the first Spider Woman, despite her name, is not connected to Spider Man at all.
Right.
She's just a secret agent that I I'm not too familiar with
Jessica
what's
Drew.
Jessica Drew, yeah.
Yes, Jessica Drew. She had a cartoon in 1979 because it in the 70s, Stan Lee realized, this sexual revolution was happening, and we need some more female characters. And so this is kind of my area of expertise. What I really am interested in is that Stan Lee wanted to give lots of new female characters, and for the most part, what he gave us was female knockoffs of male characters. So the 70s is when you got Spider-Woman and She-Hulk, and that's what he was doing. Now occasionally we get an original character, and that was usually much more well received. But yeah, Jessica Drew was a girl bitten by a spider, and she felt actually she got her powers because the spider was poisonous, but her dad was working on an antidote or some kind of serum, and he gave it to her, and that's what gave her powers. But they liked that they made her like she was creepy, like she felt like she would never be liked, and that's how she was in the comics. Now when they made her cartoon for Saturday mornings, they made her a lot more likable. And I highly recommend watching the Spider-Man cartoons from circa early 1980s, because God, those are funny, because the things she does to hide her secret identity are some of the funniest things, where, she's constantly jumping out of planes and windows and everything, and everyone thinks Jessica's dead until the end of the episode, and then she goes, "Oh yeah, Spider-Woman saved me, I'm fine." And it's just really, really funny, and the villains are often like horrible, but it's quite entertaining. Joan Van Ark, I believe, was the voice for Spider-Woman. It's highly entertaining. I know it's on the Disney Channel, but but yeah, so that was Jessica Drew was the Spider-Woman for a long time, and then in the mid '80s, in the middle of my favorite comic series of all time, The Secret Wars, Julia Carpenter appeared, and she had just been this local superhero from Boulder, Colorado, who happened to be in a chunk of Colorado that the Beyonder decided to grab from Earth when he was assembling Battle Planet. And so she just joins the superheroes, and because she happens to be there. And ironically, Spider-Man's costume had been destroyed, so he goes to this alien technology because he saw that some of his buddies were making new costumes, and he wanted a new costume, and he thought, oh, maybe his costume turns out black with a white spider on it because he'd seen Julia Carpenter's costume as Spider-Woman, and that was inspired by that. What he doesn't know, of course, is this isn't a costume, it's a symbiote, and that's what's going to lead to Venom, which was really kind of a cool development in the 80s with Spider-Man and everything.
This is slightly off topic, but like it wasn't even
Yeah.
intended to be. It was literally just a suit at first, right? And then the couple years later, they got this idea. Oh, what if it's like this alien? Because we want him back in the red and black suit. What if his black suit? Sorry, the red and blue suit. So it's like, what if his black suit is just an alien?
I mean, he ends up going to Reed Richards, not too long after that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is a parasite," and he gets frightened of it. But because one of the interesting things they did with the storytelling there in the late '80s was when he gets back from the Secret Wars in his black costume, suddenly all the cops and everybody treat him with a lot more respect, even though I would say he looks more frightening in the black and white costume. But they say they were more frightened of the red and blue costume, and that they treat him better, and he becomes a real friend with the cops and everything, which was an interesting development. And that when he got rid of the parasite, he made his own version of the black and white design and just wore that as a non-symbiote thing, and had to go back to his web shooters.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And now what I didn't know is that more recently, Jessica Drew there's a different version of Jessica Drew who is in the Ultimate Marvel Universe as a clone of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Now that's different from the original Jessica Drew, who I believe is the version that's still in the Marvel proper comics as the secret agent who's working with the Avengers all the time and kind of like one of the lead characters in the Avengers often. But yeah, there's a clone of Peter Parker named Jessica Drew in the Ultimate Universe. And then of course there's May, the future daughter of Peter and Mary Jane,
Yep,
who's a
Mayday
Spider
Parker.
Girl. Right, Mayday. And then of course you've got Aranya, and Julia Carpenter was calling herself Arachne, and then you've got multiple characters calling themselves Spider Woman,
Yeah.
including Maddie Franklin and there's another one, and there's Cindy Moon who calls herself Silk, and then there's of course the alternate universe version of Gwen Stacy who in her universe either calls herself Spider Woman or Ghost Spider. I actually like Ghost Spider,
Yep.
but Spider Gwen is one of those names that I'm that part of
It's a
the
marketing
male
name.
fans who are like, "Oh my God, why would you put your real name into your superhero name? Spider Gwen makes no sense." Ah,
And then to add even more, there's like 3 different Scarlet Spiders. One of
yes,
the Scarlet Spiders became a character named Chasm. Um, and
yep,
then there's
clones.
yeah,
Because Peter
and then
Parker's
there's
got a lot of clones out there.
yeah, if you've seen the Into the Spider-Verse movies, like there's a lot of spider people.
Oh yeah,
Unfortunately, Marvel just has instead of having most of them be alternate universes, there's just like 10 spider people active in New York right now. And it's like,
go
for
Spider Team.
Batman, it makes sense because everybody has different gimmicks. Also, I feel like you can have a billion people who just know martial arts and throw gadgets at people, and that's fine. But
Yeah,
if you had like 10 Iron Man people in like New York, that would be ridiculous. Which who knows? There might be. I know there's War Machine and there's
hmm,
Rescue. I think that's it,
yeah,
thankfully.
yeah. Though
But
there's Iron Heart. They no Iron
oh
Heart
yeah,
came
there's
out a few
Ironheart.
years
I forgot
ago.
about her.
Who was in
She
Wakanda
was in
Forever, and
she was in that Black Panther movie I still haven't seen.
yeah, yeah.
She's supposed to
So
get her
yeah,
show
yeah.
that was filmed like 4 years ago.
And I know in Earth X, I think they had it where Iron Man had made a bunch of like kind of robot Iron Man, so there was like a whole army of them. But and they kind of done that with the movies too. But kind of reminds me of the clone stormtroopers, the clone troopers, and the
Oh,
Star Wars prequel.
also for Julia Carpenter, she apparently at some point became the second Madam Web, and she wears a red jacket that Cassie in this movie wears. So even though Cassie's supposed to be the original Madam Web, she's dressed like the second Madam Web. She's dressed like Julia Carpenter, who's also in this movie, but they get around it because they change her name from Julia Carpenter to Julia Cornwall
Yeah.
for
What? Yeah.
no reason. It's like how the Incredible Hulk show, he was just, oh, I'm the Incredible Hulk, David Banner.
Yeah.
Not Bruce, David.
Yeah.
Um, did you hear the rumor of why they called him David instead of
Oh,
Bruce?
oh yeah. I totally believe it. I mean, part of it you could argue is that Bruce Banner sounds like Peter Parker and Clark Kent were
Yeah.
alliterative names, and they wanted to get around that. But I totally believe that they thought that Bruce was a gay sounding name, and they went with David. I totally believe
It's
that they
just
did
crazy.
that.
Like it's the 70s comics, so
Yeah.
that's just crazy to me. It's like
Yeah.
people might think he's gay. And it's just now you're just like, so what? But in the
Right.
70s.
So yeah, from Stan Lee, he has said that he argued with them about that, but they went they did that, but then they also wanted to make the Hulk red because they couldn't understand why he was green. They said, well, he's angry, he should be red, and Stan Lee said, no, that's the hill I'm picking to fight on. No, he's green, and then of course all the original fans were like, he's actually gray.
Didn't they change it because like Gray just looked really bad in the comics? So like,
Well,
okay, we
it's
need a color.
hard in the printing process of gray. It's hard to maintain. So like he'll be really dark on one page and then really light on another page and be kind of brown on the next page. So green, any of those primary or secondary colors are a little easier. That's why they tend to wear green and purple and red and blue and not gray and browns are kind of a little harder to pull off consistently. So
Yeah,
I'll give
and
them
then
that.
and then you get the black and blue confusion where you're just like, okay, is this supposed to be blue?
Right.
I legitimately believe that Batman's costume was always black. It just
Right.
accidentally became blue. Because
Yeah.
I
'Cause his hair was blue too. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne, they all had blue hair, and Wonder Woman and Lois Lane. Everybody has blue hair.
apologies for the tangents. We're both big nerds, so that's gonna
Yes.
happen. If this pilot is successful and this becomes a full podcast, you're just gonna have to deal with it. Um, so the other Spider Woman, we have Anya. Oh my god, I can't pronounce. I'm a
Corazon.
horrible
Cor-
Mexican. Anya
Anya
Corazon,
Corazon.
who
Corazon.
not Spider Woman. She is a spider. She's the third Spider Girl because Spider Girl and Spider Woman are two different people. Those are two
Yes.
different superhero identities. Um,
Aranya.
and because she's Hispanic, of course, that has to mean that her parents are illegal immigrants, and she is by herself. I will kind of mention this when I'm done talking about the characters, but there's a running theme about how these characters don't really have parents. And so we have the third Spider Woman, who is Maddie Franklin, who I actually thought was a different character. I thought she was the Spider Woman from Old Man Logan, who gets killed. But no, Maddie Franklin is in fact another just Spider Woman. Um, and she is cool. And by cool, I mean the only reason she sticks out to me is she has the iron spider legs on her
Yeah.
back. Um, but yeah, and she's like, it's funny that I've actually seen this enough that this actually is a trope. She is the rich person who doesn't like being rich, and her parents don't care about her, so she becomes the rebel.
Right.
Very similar.
Someone someone who would skateboard in front of a rushing ambulance and then flip them off.
Yeah, she get mad that she almost got ran over for
Right. It's one of my
missing an
favorite
ambulance.
character introductions of all time. Is like, yes, yes, we're gonna care about this person. They even point out who flips off an ambulance.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's destiny. Like I said, she meets all three of these well, she already kind of knew one of them, but she witnesses scenes with all three of these women because the next day she's going to bump into all of them. And the kind of the theme in this movie is like, I guess, like not having parental figures in their lives, because Julia, she has her one of her parents is I can't remember if it's the mom or dad. She has a step parent, and then her birth parent doesn't really seem to care about her. Um, Anya's parents, like I said, are
Yeah, Julia said her mother's crazy, and so her
okay.
father remarried, and that's who Cassie saved at the beginning, and then oh Anya Corazon's father was killed,
Yeah,
and
no, he
she's
was
been trying
deported.
to deported. Right, right, right.
Yeah,
And that Maddie
um,
Franklin just has rich parents who don't care about her.
yeah. Um, so yeah, the big character development of all of them is they all over the course of the movie they all kind of become family. Which I
They
mean,
learn CPR.
I
they,
guess like
they,
if you go through something like this, like yeah, you're probably gonna have like a strong relationship when like your death when your death is on the line, and then you all kind of team up to stop the person. But I really feel like none of these people had chemistry with each other, and they don't even seem like they like each other. uh, especially like at first, like they have like so this is hilarious. Cassie like never seems to actually have a plan, which I mean, I guess like she's kind of how would you plan for this?
right.
But she just kind of leaves them in the woods with no food or a bag of beef jerky. Which, if you guys have gotten beef jerky lately, there's like 7 pieces of jerky in those bags. Uh, it's like a dollar. It's $1 per slice of jerky, and she just goes to like read her mom's journal for like 10 hours. Which they're in Manhattan, and she or like I think they're in Long Island probably. I don't know New York that well, and she leaves them in the woods of like upstate New York. So it probably like takes her
Actually,
like hours.
Jersey. I think they mentioned it
Oh,
was in Jersey
okay. Well,
is
that's
where
slightly
she took
closer then. But
slightly, yeah.
it's like you think she would like go like get water and food and go bring that back to him, but no.
She's not a caring person. So she's the strangest paramedic.
Yeah, like you said, like it was kind of nice that she's awkward, like and stuff. But it's like
Mhm.
Dakota Johnson's performance more comes off as like she's just unempathetic.
Yeah,
Like it's like she became a paramedic, like almost as if like she didn't have anything else to do. I get like paramedics are probably like closed off because you know all the stuff they see.
right.
But she like
It's
acts
tough.
like she doesn't even understand the concept of empathy most of the time.
Right.
And that could just be that clearly at some point in filming this that Dakota Johnson was just like, this movie sucks. I'm not gonna try. There's some scenes where like she's okay, and there's some scenes where she's very bland and bored. I legitimately think there's some scenes where she's like reading, and that's the first time she's saying her lines.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, yeah. I think it was Honest Trailer, the trailer's the review that they said her acting style is text to speech.
Yeah. Which, like we said before, me and Todd haven't really seen her in anything, so I don't know if she's just a bad
Yeah,
actress. She could just be a bad actress for all we know, or she could be good, and this is just like her not giving a shit. It's like, okay, I'm getting
right.
paid. I'll be
Oh,
fine.
I think I enjoyed her on Saturday Night Live, and she's just a low energy, kind of sleepy, lethargic kind of person who, and watching her publicity interviews are highly entertaining because she's trying to say things about being excited when she doesn't seem like she could ever be excited about anything. It's really kind of funny.
I do feel that because like I see like Sydney Sweeney was like trying to like talk up this movie. She even mentioned like, oh yeah, I tried really hard to like get like these poses that like Julia Carpenter does. Which is funny when you see that she only wears a suit for 2 scenes and both of them revisions. And then yeah, Dakota Johnson's just like, oh my god, why am I still talking about this movie?
So would have put it behind her.
Yeah, which is I don't even does she even have anything coming out soon? I'm kind of curious.
That's a good question.
She probably has like some shitty Netflix movie that's coming out soon. Yeah, she has something coming out, it seems. Her and Chris Evans in a romantic comedy, which it's an A24. Okay, I'm interested now. Her and
Oh
Chris
yeah,
Evans are going to be
824.
yeah, which it's like an A24 romantic comedy. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. um, they're branching out. That makes me happy. Like, I can't. Well, no, I was going to say I can't wait for the first A24 action movie, but Civil War. I don't know
Ah,
if you saw Civil War, but I thought it was pretty good.
no. Oh, interesting. I'm a little afraid to see it because I got my degree in journalism, and so seeing
Yeah.
a movie about journalists covering what's about to be our next election makes me a little afraid.
If you want to see journalists who are like completely detached and are just kind of out there for like the story, I think you might like it then because it uh, many review of Civil War. Probably my most controversial opinion. I'm actually kind of glad that it's not really about the sides of the war. It really is just about war journalists.
Right.
Um, and like they're kind of like neutrality, and it's just like, yeah, I just want to document the thing. Um, so yeah, that's what I. Plus, that has good performances in it too. I can't remember her name, but the actress that plays Priscilla in the Priscilla movie, she's in it. She plays kind of like the young up and coming photographer, while Kristen Dunst plays like like the jaded, like oh my gosh, she's seen like shit. But yeah,
I've
Civil War is
seen
good.
things.
If there's a movie you want to watch, watch Civil War over Madam Web.
Yeah.
um,
Yes.
but yeah, I wanted to talk about how they tried to trick people into thinking that there was Spider Woman in this movie. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. The ending credits is filled with them too. Yeah.
yeah, the ending credits is the best part because it plays "Dreams" by the Cranberries.
Yes. Yes. That's one of my 8 good things I could come up with to say about this movie.
it does the credits I really love, where it shows like a clip of the actor with the name. I wish more movies did that. Um,
Mhm.
Although this one, it's not like Predator, where like it shows a clip of them and then puts their name. It's like kind of like inside the credits.
Yeah.
But this is just a funny joke for me. I was one. I think it's hilarious that Emma Roberts and Mike Epps have higher billing than Adam Scott,
Yeah.
because Adam Scott's in the whole movie. Mike Epps is in it for like 5 minutes before he gets killed. Um,
Yeah.
and then Emma Roberts is in it in the little bit in the beginning and then a little bit at the end. And it you know more about Hollywood stuff than I do. Isn't it like billing like based off of like agent negotiations?
Well, yeah, and of course, this movie is about Hollywood royalty, and Emma Roberts is
Oh
almost as
yeah,
qualified as Dakota Johnson, almost.
yeah.
So yeah, Adam Scott, he has to work for he has to
And
work.
then I I don't know how Mike Epps got higher billing. Like, what were they like? Mike Epps will not be in this movie unless he's like seventh build. He has to be a build right below the villain, or else he won't be in this movie. Um, like I said, they show the clips of the actors and they say their name. I was really hoping they would show that hacker, just because it's like, what clip would they get of her?
Right?
Just a clip of
She's
her, like,
sitting behind the computers.
yeah.
Yes,
But
she's
no,
got a big necklace
they don't
on
show
behind
her
the computer.
because she gets one of those credits where it's like three people's names, so she got no image.
Mhm.
So in the trailers and all the marketing, they show Maddie, Julia, and Anya in their Spider Woman suits, and those are just in visions. One of them is Ezekiel has a nightmare about them killing him. Once again, since we know nothing about Ezekiel, we have no idea why they're killing him. And they want to take his spider, which it's like, okay, is
They
that
must have already gotten his spider in order to get their powers, you would
yeah.
think, but yeah.
So I don't even know if they have different powers. They just seem to have different gimmicks. Julia Julia just seems to be like a regular classic Spider Man. Anya
Yeah,
has like
her
tech,
webbing Julia's spider web is like glowy and yellow and kind of like trickles out of her in kind of an electricity kind of thing. And then Maddie's got the science with the arms and stuff.
and then
And
Anya has like an electric thing. I think she's like more of a gadget person, which they
mm,
mentioned that Anya's. It's funny that Julia is supposed to be the nerd, but Anya's the smart one.
right.
And it's like, okay, so you have two nerds then. But so yeah, I don't know if it's just they have tech, so it makes them look kind of different, or if they all have different spider powers. So it would just be funny if like not only is there this spider, but they all got bitten by three different spiders too.
And just think of the years going by as they're all the four of them are living together and they're saying like, "Hey Cassie, when are we getting our Spider Girl powers?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"In the future," as they're all growing older, older and older. And Steven, this is the hardest thing for me because of course I I think what I think of is that my generation has provided all of these superhero movies why they're so big now. It's because we grew up in the 70s and fell in love with superheroes and now we're in our 50s. And that's what Cassie's going to be in present day because she was born in 73, she was 30 in 2003, and now today when Spider-Man's going to be, in his early 20s, we're in our 50s and I'm looking at the Madam Web, the old shriveled white-haired woman from the comics and thinking, "Wait a minute, is that supposed to be our age group now?" Ah!
It's sorry, I'm trying to remember where to this movie. There's just so much to talk about with this movie. Um,
Right. Well, we've got all the Spider Girls and they're waiting for their powers and they might be waiting a long time.
yeah, they're just gonna live in a house together. So I'll kind of speed through the end so we can kind of talk about like the ending scene and all the implications in it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
basically, by the end of the movie, May's gonna go have Peter, which I think the plot originally of this movie, when I first heard about it, was they were trying to make sure that she got the baby born. But I guess at some point they're like, no, that's too complicated. We don't even. You know what? There was like a rumor that like this was going to be in the Andrew Garfield universe, but then they realized the
Ah,
timeline didn't make any sense. So I guess they're just like, fuck it, just scrap the Spider-Man thing. make it vague. Um, so they pivoted to like a Terminator movie. Oh wait, no, that still would be sorry, that would still be Terminator. Duh. So they kind of just pivoted it to making it about the three women getting killed. Earlier in the movie, it's established that there is a fireworks factory that's very dangerous. And
and
so,
and
if you know
and
anything
right
about
by the
movies and
wall.
writing, you're going to be, when are they going back to the fireworks factory? And so they lead him to the fireworks factory, where even though he can see the future and he most likely has spider sense, he gets hit by every single firework.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have it. Yeah.
And it leads them to the top of a building where they fight on a Pepsi billboard. And eventually, Pepsi saves the day because the P from the sign falls on Ezekiel and kills him.
Oh yeah.
Which Spider-Man always seemed very durable, so I don't believe that a sign falling on Spider-Man will kill him. It would probably take him out of the fight for a while, but I don't believe Spider-Man unless this guy's just weaker than Spider-Man. He didn't get the durability powers. But during this battle, Cassie's powers get unlocked, and so she's able to like astral project herself to protect the three women.
Yeah, she's able to like send out three ghost versions of herself. It's tangible enough that she can say, "Give me your hand," and pull them back. So they're not completely ghosts. So that's kind of vague. And then, but then she's still vulnerable to just getting hit, her physical body. And but she's able to at least delay the girls, support the girls, and then turn to the villain and say, "It wasn't about the girls. It was me." Help basically direct the villain toward herself, and so that he can say, "You are just like your mother." Yes, I am like my mother.
Which
Oh,
I forgot to say earlier. There's like a subplot where Cassie thinks that her mother hates her because she went to the Amazon with her as a baby. Which I feel like that's like, how do you know she just didn't get pregnant when she was there? I feel like that's a jump. That's like a huge
right.
jump to just assume your mother hated you.
Yeah, and she didn't even realize her mother was murdered, because
Yeah,
that she learned. It's like, oh, this guy actually shot her, and then the whole reason why she was in the jungle was to find a spider to save her baby, who would have this disease, and the spider did save her, because they she found the spider and it bit her right before she was born, and that was able to cure her of her disease and also give her these spider power, or at least these precog powers.
yeah, and because the people that wrote this movie think you're stupid, they explain this like three times. Like a normal person watching the movie would watch like the scene of like the doctor explaining like, oh yeah, your baby's gonna have like this like neurological disorder, and you would understand, oh, spider powers kill you, she will be fine. But then Cassie says it out loud that you were trying to help me. And then Cassie like kind of has like a vision with where she talks to her mom, and then they explain again that her mom did not. It's like we got it. We got it 2 scenes ago. Please stop.
Yeah, that's what I needed with the Parkers, I guess. I needed
Yeah.
them really to like hammer it home for us. Hey, this is Ben Parker. He's just dating a girl named May. And
Yeah.
his nephew just got born, Peter. That's what I needed. I need my handheld there. That's in my list of things that I like about the movie. I'm going to say that Peter Parker is Emperor Palpatine from Phantom Menace. They one of the best things about that movie is that Senator Palpatine of Naboo could completely fool audiences back in the day when it first came out that he was the dude in the hooded cloak. And even though they had the same name, it still wasn't helping enough people see who he was. Peter Parker Palpatine.
Funny. I think as a kid, my like dad just told me, oh, that that's the emperor. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Right.
And so it's
Right.
like
It's so easy.
I
He's
never
right
realized it was supposed to
there.
be a twist.
It was a surprise. I didn't real I saw it the first night it opened and totally missed it. Even though I had been a Star Wars fan since I was 5,
And it's
was
the same
so pumped
actor.
for this movie, and then I totally missed it. Even though I knew the Emperor's name was Palpatine, he was just there was so much bureaucracy in Phantom Menace of like, oh, we got the Trade Federation and we're sending Senator Palpatine of Naboo to the Senate to complain about blah blah blah. So I wasn't paying any attention that the name Palpatine popped in there, just like the name Ben Parker should have popped up in this movie. But I totally missed it, and it wasn't until I was seeing it a second time and my friend turned to me and goes, "Wait a minute, isn't the Emperor's name Palpatine?" And I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god, it's him!" And I was there with a bunch of like diehard Star Wars fans. And when we came out of Grauman's Chinese theater, I turned to them and I said, "Okay, there's something that we're all going to deny from now on because we don't want the shame of not realizing this because we're all big Star Wars fans. But I have to ask you, does anybody here, besides my friend here, does anyone here know who the, Emperor Palpatine, the guy with the cloak, that he's another character in this movie?" And they didn't know what I was talking about. And I said, see, you're going to deny this later, but there's a character in here who is Darth Sidious as is Palpatine, and we all missed it. And as much as criticism as was dumped on the prequel trilogies, that was the main thing. I was like, wow, he pulled that off. How did he pull that off? And I'm sure it's going to be the same when the Madam Web trilogy finishes.
Oh
And
yeah, they're definitely making more of these.
and we see the rest of the Spider Girls, and Spider-Man comes in there, and oh, it's gonna be so great. And then we can all say, "Oh man, I totally didn't realize that was Uncle Ben in the first movie. Wow, Adam Scott."
I can't wait for when the three Spider Women and Madam Web team up to face off against Venom, Morbius, Vulture, and Craven.
Yes, yes.
Oh, and
And,
Rhino's supposed to be in Craven. We throw him in. We just need one more person, and you got the Sinister Six.
oh, well, how about Morbius? I mean, he should be a
Well, that's
good
what I
guy.
said. Yeah,
Oh
the
yeah, Morbius.
Sinister
Okay,
Six would be. Oh, you haven't
Morbius.
seen Morbius. You don't know that. Did you know that Michael Keaton's in it as the Vulture?
No. Oh, the
Okay.
Vulture's in there too.
I feel bad
Fantastic.
for
All right.
spoiling that for you.
Well,
Don't get
now I have to
excited.
see
It
it.
makes no sense. He pops up at the very end, and then
All
he's
right, so
in
we
like
got
a stinger.
Venom, Vulture, Morbius, Craven, Rhino.
Rhino.
This is quite a Sinister Six.
You know, I think the
Now,
Chameleon might be in it too. Craven,
oh, okay. Well, there that would be six,
because
and so
the
they would
Chameleon.
be against Madam Web, and then of course Spider Girl, and Spider Girl.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Chameleon is. I'm surprised they've never put Chameleon in a movie before because Chameleon's easy. You can just have like a Russian guy. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
he just does disguises.
right. Oh,
But
I guess we could do Carnage. Carnage would work too.
oh no,
He
Carnage
could be.
died.
Oh no! Spoiler.
Well, that's okay. There's supposed to be like 5 symbiotes in the new one, so
Right.
um, but anyways, so at the end of the movie, after Ezekiel gets crushed by the Pepsi symbol, um, Cassie falls into. I keep wanting to call her Maddie because there's a character called Maddie, and Maddie is like a cute.
Right.
I don't know if you can
Madam
call
Maddie
Madam
Web.
Maddie. I think that would be very offensive.
Yeah.
But Maddie falls into. I just did it. Cassie falls into the ocean, and I guess the fall from that crushes her spine, and
Yeah, because
she also gets hit
she's
in the
in
face
a
with
wheelchair.
firework.
Yes, a Roman candle goes way deep in the water and burns her eyes.
Yeah.
It's kind of spectacular.
Um, and because they have to make her like the comic book version. So it's like, well, we need her in a chair and she needs to be blind by the end of the movie. I don't care how it makes sense. It needs to get to that.
Right.
And
And she
earlier in
needs
the
a
movie,
Doctor Strange window in her loft apartment.
yeah.
Get it all together for a blind
Uh,
woman.
and, and earlier in the movie, in attempts to have like character moments, she taught him how to do CPR or not CPR, yeah, CPR. And
Right?
so that comes back at the end. All three of them do CPR
Of course.
on her, and she lives. And
Yeah.
then it cuts. Sorry, go
Which is shocking because 2 times Cassie fell into water and needed to be revived, and in both times, she never spits out water. They
yeah,
just press on her chest and she wakes up. Both times she drowned and never spit up water. Ah,
like thank God she has spider powers, or else she would have been brain
I
dead
know.
multiple times. um, but at the end of the movie, the ending's hilarious. Um, I was like laughing, and then what's funny after the movie ended, I heard someone cheer, and I was like, What is the matter with you?" Um, but
Woo!
they somehow these teenage girls they convinced their parents to let her go live with this blind woman,
Yeah. Well, their
and
parents were either unavailable or uninterested. So, yeah, this would be great. Besides, they told that nurse their family, and their family.
yeah,
Oh, it's perfect.
um, and so Maddie must be bankrolling this because she's the only person of money. Um,
Right?
so they have this big luxurious apartment. That it's like a trope in movies and shows that take place in New York, that these people who barely have any money will have these huge apartments. When in New York, it's like $1,500 to have
Yeah.
a studio that you're lucky that the bathroom is another room. And you know what? I'm sorry, 15,000. Sorry, 15,000. 1,500 might be an under exaggeration, to be honest. So they have this big apartment. Like you said, they have this big window that Cassie just stares out of, which is hilarious because
Because she's
she's
blind.
blind. Um, and they do this thing that's literally. Have you seen Scary Movie 3?
I think no,
It's with the
I didn't see that.
Signs and Matrix.
Oh,
Those two famous horror movies. So there's a scene where Anna Faris's character she goes to meet the Oracle that's played by Queen Latifah. And so they basically do the same type of dialogue that's in this one, where like she's like, "Oh, don't worry about that vase," and she's like, "Oh, sorry," and then she bumps and she almost drops the vase that doesn't fall over, and then she backs up, and then she gets hit in the head with a vase, and she's like, "That vase." Um, and so she starts trying. Anna Faris like keeps asking her questions, but Queen Latifah answers them as she's asking them, and she's like, "Hey, that's getting," and then Queen Latifah says, "Very annoying," and she's like, "Yeah." So they do this dialogue, but seriously. Like they come in with food and they're like, "Hey, cat." She's like, "Oh, I'm fine." "Oh, yes, Kung Pao chicken would be lovely." "Oh, don't worry about that plate." And they're like, "What?" And then they break the plate.
and bless you. What? A chew. Oh,
That would get
that would.
annoying instantly. That's like something you would do like if you're a psychic and you had a friend, you would do that just to annoy them. And because you have foresight, you would know when to stop because you're like, okay, they're gonna get pissed. I mean, like two more jokes. I'll stop here. Um, and so like they so, this line is hilarious to me. This woman's blind. She got like her eyes burned out. They ask her, how's your eyesight doing? What do you expect her to say? Oh, bad because I can't see anymore. Like, can you imagine that? Like Foggy Nelson was just like, "Hey Matt, how's your eyesight doing?"
Still blind, Foggy.
Yeah, and he can't like because most of the time Foggy Nelson doesn't know he's Daredevil, so he can't just be like, "Oh, I mean, I can see sounds and smell. That's kind of nice." No, he has to be like, toxic waste melted my eyeballs. I can't see anything." And so she says, "Oh, I can see better than I ever could." And then you see Vision, and they're like, "Oh, well, can you see our future?" And so we get this montage of them as Spider Women fighting and stuff. And it's like, there you go. You finally get to see them as superheroes for 30 seconds at the end of the movie. It's just the final shot of the four of them because even Cassie gets her own suit, which I guess
Yeah.
since she's astral projecting herself, it's not a real suit. she's like Vision, where she just kind of like summons a suit. The final shot of them is just so hilarious because it's like you're hinting at a movie that's never going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a big kind of Snyderverse write-in campaign. We could just
No,
start. It's like, where's the Madam Web sequel? The Madam Webiverse.
I don't. I don't want any more directors to have campaigns for their cuts anymore because the fucking the Snyder crowd is insane.
I know they're terrible.
Yeah, and so this movie's bad. It got worse the second time I watched it because the first time I
Yeah,
watched it, I was just in awe of all the choices they're making. But now I'm watching it like this movie is like almost a waste of time,
yeah.
which is hilarious because we've been talking about it for
Yeah,
at
it's
least an
kind of
hour.
got that train wreck quality in that there are a lot of parts and you're seeing like, oh, how could they have thought this would have been good or this could have been better or it's just a lot of parts to it so that yeah, it actually is intriguing as a kind of a train wreck bad kind of movie and that we kind of it would have been nice if it was good, but because yeah, I was worried a lot of the negative reaction was just misogyny trolls and people who always go on about I'm so tired of superhero movies. So that was my worry. That was what like maybe it's better than all that. Maybe they're
Yeah,
just being biased, but nope,
because that's
nope. It is as bad. It's that bad. It's
yeah.
really
Even though I haven't seen it, it's kind of like with the Marvels where everyone like wrote it off, and then people like watched it when it went on Disney Plus because
yeah.
nobody really saw it in theaters, and then
Right.
everyone was like, "Hey, this is actually like kind of fun."
It is. It is. I saw it in the theater. I had a good time. It had some of the biggest laughs I've ever had in a Marvel movie, and that's saying something. It was funny. It was fun, and I thankfully I had was up on my Ms. Marvel. I'd watched that series, so I knew that character very well and appreciated that. And I am a huge fan of Monica Rambeau in the comics, so I was very happy following her from WandaVision and continuing that. And then Captain Marvel is one of those characters. First of all, just the history of the Captain Marvel name is so fascinating because
Yeah,
it's been so many different characters, and that Carol Danvers as a character has changed so often, and they try to make her really interesting, and she has her fans, but for me, it's always been kind of like, she's the blonde, powerful woman character of the Marvel universe, and they just, you know, I feel like they've been really looking for their sync, but like how to hook people with this character. And in the
yeah,
comics, at least, it's been really kind of they reboot her comics like constantly. It doesn't get very far before they do an issue one again, and
and
that's a
they
bad sign.
basically change
And
her appearance and
right
like
here,
I
let's try it
remember
again.
I remember she had like the short hair because this is kind of when I was
Right?
reading comics for a little bit and then I kind of got out of it.
Yeah.
Really quick story. What happened to me that got me out of reading comics weekly is Marvel and DC both did a reboot at the same time. And I was like,
Yeah.
what's the
Oh,
point of getting into this stuff if they're just like, okay, everything you read doesn't matter anymore, or some of it
right.
matters, and then 10 years later, the other part of it will matter. And it's like, oh, okay. Um,
Yeah. The idea, the idea that an issue number one sells more than a higher number issue, so they just every so often go like, all right, number one again, let's start over.
Yeah, it's really funny when you look at the Flash. Okay, Flash has been around since technically the 40s, but the Barry Allen has been
Yeah.
around since the 60s. He's had 4 volumes, while like someone like Iron Man probably had like 15 different volumes because just every time a writer finishes, they like restart the count, and it's like, don't do that.
Right.
You're not going to get people to read comics more just because you're like, oh hey, it's number one again. Anyways, yes. This is very rambly. We're sorry. This is our first attempt.
Yeah,
and
but
like
this is
and like
fun.
and like I've been joking, this is basically a pilot. We'll see if we do more. But Do you have anything else to add?
Okay, yeah. My last point is that uh, the in one of the big scenes at near the beginning of Madam Web, there's a shot. It's a aerial shot of the warehouse that has all the fireworks and the huge Pepsi sign. And the first time we see that, the building's on fire, and we hear that it's full of explosives. And Cassie's friend, she foresees his death in the ambulance when a black dump truck plows into it. She tries to keep him from leaving because she keeps seeing this vision, and he ignores her. And finally, he drives away and gets killed. So she runs to his body and tries to save him, but it's too late, just like in her vision. And that's where we're really cementing what her powers are. And then we pull back to end the scene with that big shot, and we see that where that black dump truck was headed was right into the river. I mean, it was barreling through when it plowed into her friend in the ambulance. But why was it driving straight to the river? Was it a runaway dump truck? Because the other side of that fireworks building is the river that she falls into at the end of the movie, because she takes the girls there because she knows it's full of explosives, and she works for the fire department as a paramedic. So of course she knows, hey, let's set fire to this building again. I hear it's a death trap.
Like, would they just leave the fireworks in there too? You'd think
I
they would
know, it
confiscate
had
all
been
those.
weeks after that fire, and they left everything there so she could explode it again. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. We don't know how fireworks laws work in other. We live in California, where fireworks are the most illegal thing in the entire world.
Yes, yes.
If you shoot off a Roman candle here and the cops catch you, which if they care, that's $1,000.
Ooh, ooh. Yeah, because you could fall into the water and get blinded.
Yeah. um, do you want to read the 20 things you liked about this movie?
I never actually uh, could come up with it. Sadly, I came up with my 8. I like the baby shower scene. I like the delivery of her line, "The burgers are ruined." I like that baby Peter Parker is Emperor Palpatine from Phantom Menace. I like that she forgives her mother when she sees what happened to her mom. I like that she teaches the girls CPR, and that's a useful skill to have. I like "Dreams" by the Cranberries. Great song. Uh, would far rather watch the music video to that than this movie, though.
That song makes me
The
cry.
It's
It's such a good
great. I
song.
mean, it's not even my favorite Cranberries song. It's great, but I prefer "Linger" is my favorite, and then "Zombie" I really like too. But yeah,
Those are
"Dreams"
the
is
three.
definitely
What's your
top
favorite
3. Yeah,
Cranberry song? It's either going to be Dreams, Linger, or Zombie.
yeah. And then the cast credits, I'm very appreciative that they put Parker at the end of Ben and Mary's character names. That was really helpful. And of course, last is Adam Scott. I always appreciate Adam Scott in the movie. That's very
Yeah.
nice.
Adam Scott
He's a
has
great
basically
Uncle Ben.
Yeah, Adam Scott basically has two roles, and he's great at both of them. He's either like the asshole, or he's like the very likable but nervous like type of guy. And it's
Yeah,
funny,
yeah.
those he basically plays the nerd and the bully, and he's great at both of them.
Yeah,
I have yet
yeah,
to really
and
see an
I
Adam
would
Scott.
love to see his Uncle Ben, if
Yeah,
they actually, in a few years, have him meet his new version of Marissa Tomei, and have a little nephew. That would be fantastic. So he could deliver the "with great power comes great responsibility" line. That would be fine.
it'd be great if Kevin Feige was just like, okay, let's just make Adam Scott the Uncle Ben of Tom Holland's Uncle Ben,
Would work.
because he's basically he has to be 50. Let me see. Adam Scott, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry I made you 50 if you're younger.
There's nothing wrong with being
No, he's
50, Stephen.
51.
Yes, I'm still older than him, but just by a year. Woohoo!
Um, oh wow, damn, 59. Marissa Tomei has really good genes.
Yeah.
Thank you once again for you guys listening to this. Once again, sorry if it wasn't really structured and really rambly, but you know what? I had fun complaining about this movie, and that's all that matters. And I hope you had fun listening.
Yeah, let's do this again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this again. Coming soon-ish on my new channel that'll hopefully be created by this point. Me and Todd are going to do a podcast that does not have a name.
Cinema
Okay,
de
but
Bergerac sounds great.
I have to ask the Red Letter Media guys if that's okay, or else I don't want to get sued by them. I don't want to go to Milwaukee to
Yes.
argue my case. It's like, Your Honor, I didn't think they copyrighted any of these names. It was just I'm not even familiar. If it was the only Cyrano thing I watched was Roxanne, and I didn't like it. All right, everybody, have a good day. Bye bye.